if I'm operating the field and use a counterpoise, that I can set the counterpoise in a certain direction to get my RF to go in a certain direction. I don't remember which way that was, but if you have two, then I would guess it would might be broadside or like sideways. But as you add more and more, it becomes less and less of an issue. If you're doing three or more, I'm going to say it probably doesn't have that much, as it might change their takeoff angle slightly, but that would be stuff that you would want to test in like a software like for EasyNet or 4NEC2 or something like that.
Rewind said, I've got about 800 feet of copper wire, and I put it down in my front yard before they laid new sod, and it really doesn't affect it very much, it doesn't seem. I've worked all states, worked all continents, so I just wondered if there was any way to figure it out, but I guess I'm using one of those DX Engineer radial plates around my vertical, and they're going out as best as I can in all directions. So, thanks. I just wondered. I don't know.
Yeah, there are two ways to really check. The first way, if you want to be super.
All right, we're just listening to talk about radial directionality from our last learning net. I see someone maybe put something into the chat, but if anybody has anything on that, go ahead. Welcome, Albert. Oh, go ahead. I'll put a link in here. Looks like Jeff put a link on radials.
It says there are a few subjects in amateur radio that are so clouded in mystery as radials and ground systems. It says the basic components are quite well known, except it seems among the amateur community.
Yeah.
It's like magic.
Yes.
I wonder if John W6NBC has done any radio or radial presentations. I'll have to ping him and see if he has.
It always reminds me of a maypole from Bookerman. But it doesn't seem like it seems like you just kind of fan them out kind of evenly. It seems like it works.
Well, and my gut tells me that if you didn't have them fanning out like a maypole, that they certainly would create some, directional effects on your radiation.
Yeah, that would make sense, yeah.
But I'm intuiting that.
Gotcha.
I was a wire man most of the years I did HF. Strung in the trees.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. So that was one question we had there. Let's see what else we were talking about. This chooses to load here.
We're just kind of gabbing here, guys. If anybody's got anything they want to talk about, feel free to throw it out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rag chewing, I guess, would be a better term.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you guys are all regulars. You guys know the drill here. There's someone in chat with the name F, or welcome here. Joe, looks like you just put something up the screen there, but welcome everyone.
Looks like a slice of pineapple. What was that, Joe?
Oh, God. I was trying to show something off. No worries. What else here, guys? ARL.org/news, always a good place to check things out.
What is that, Joe? Oh, I got you. That's pretty interesting. You're muted.
That's the latest 4-state QRP group paddle kit.
Oh, cool. Well, I went down and opened a shed at my rental property this last week, and lo and behold, my first Star Roamer receiver and a Miko receiver I still have. I thought I'd gotten rid of them.
This is the ultimate hackable radio. I haven't started hacking yet.
And what is that?
It's one of these Quansheng things, but there's all this firmware out there to make it do all sorts of stuff, like listen to HF and so forth.
Oh, cool.
So,
Yeah, that has been a. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, the paddle is really, really popular, and it's got 3 real strong magnets on the bottom, and that's how it sticks. So we don't make it heavy, we make it strong. And everything is made out of PC board material.
Very cool.
So that's kind of a fun kit.
And does it have enough weight to stay in place when you're using it, or do you have to secure it somehow?
Well, you secure it by sticking it to metal.
Yeah.
So like we had cookie sheets we were using when we built them. Of course, everybody stuck them on those and they wouldn't budge. But if you've got like an FT817 or whatever, any of the popular rigs that people take out to the parks, and it's got a metal case, it's going to stick as long as it's not aluminum.
Yeah. I got to step away for a few minutes, guys. I'll be listening, but I won't be able to talk.
Sounds good. I was trying to find the website for that kit there. Seems like there's a few things.
I'm not sure if it's up yet. Did you go to 4-State QRP?
Yes, sorry, I was muted. Yeah, I did. That's where I went. There was quite a few products listed on there, it looked like.
Yeah, take a look. Let's see if, there you go. NM0S key right there on top.
Perfect.
That's it.
Okay.
And I'm guilty. I wrote the manual for this one and did the photography. So if you do assembly manual, there it is. I wrote the manual, how to make it.
Get all the credit and take all the blame. That's how that works. Very
That's
cool.
right.
Yeah.
Everybody says, oh, it sucks. Well, everybody's come up with all these different little tricks to make it go a little easier. But I'm not going to revise it every time somebody comes out with that. I'm going to wait a couple of months or so before I update it.
Yeah. I haven't done much kit building, but yeah, I imagine that documentation part is a little bit difficult. You might have
it takes some time. So yeah. I did it just like when I write for the magazine. I did all the photography, but as opposed to the magazine, I did all the pagination and everything, and then printed these for the build-a-thon that we had at the OzarkCon in Branson. So,
oh, awesome.
It's a really interesting little kit, and I'll talk about it when we go through our thing.
Excellent. Sounds good.
But it's unique. I like it. I mean, it sticks to everything that's metal, and but otherwise it doesn't. And the whole bunch of solder connections, that's it. You're not going to do a lot of soldering on this.
Okay.
It's ball bearings.
Yeah. A lot of people, I see these things with the 2 paddles on it, and when my dad passed away, he left me this thing, but it only has 1 button on it. What's with paddles?
Yeah, so you've got a straight key.
It's Iambic Keyer is the name for those 2 paddle solutions.
Iambic Keyer. That's something.
But it was a fun build. I helped lead the build in Branson, and we had 36 builders walk away with working paddles and plugged in and send CW.
Wow, very cool. That must have been a fun session to do.
Yes, it was. It was. This is something I'm working on for our QRP group that meets between Omaha and Lincoln. This is a plastic insulator with a BNC on it and some connections, and then we're winding our own one-to-one balun, and it'll get held up here with a right about there with a zip tie, and wired to the front 2 lugs, and then the back 2 lugs will be the wires. These are designed mostly for 15, 12, and 10 meters. And they're designed to be like a POTA antenna for QRP radios, although I think this one will handle up to 100 watts. But primarily it'll be used like 50 watts or less.
Oh, okay. Well, let me see.
But this is something where we took a 3D design that was online, and then I strengthened it up a bit and printed it with PETG so it'd survive outside better. And I made insulators like that. There.
Oh, very cool. Okay.
Little end insulators. It's all 3D printed. My printer is over here. You can't see it. It's a Bamboo Labs P1S. These things are center insulators. You just bolt an SO239 to it and use the holes to use them for strain relief. And you can make little dipoles with this too. And then somebody printed these for me, and I'm going to reproduce it. Little QRP insulators.
Oh, very neat.
Yeah, so I do 3D printing and stuff. This is a wire winder with Velcro strap.
Yeah, that looks familiar.
So I keep busy.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, 3D printing, I'm sure, is
have a messy check right now because I've got a Drake general coverage receiver that I saw at the Hamfest in Oklahoma last weekend. And I was on the way out, and the guy looked at me and he says, "Oh, you're the kit builder guy." He says, "Look, I didn't sell this thing. I was only asking $20. You want it?" I said, "Sure." He says, "I don't even know if it works." So I took it home, hooked it to the antenna, and it works. The only thing wrong with it is it's missing the 12-volt supply, which is no big deal. I plugged it into the main power supply here, and the rubber feet are gone. They were just stuck on, so I'm going to make a more permanent solution to that. But its receiver seems to be lined up okay.
Oh, wow. For $20, that's a pretty good find there.
Yeah. And then I bought some raffle tickets, and I ended up winning one of these.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's Xiegu something or other, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's a G90.
G90, that's right.
So I hooked that up a couple of days ago, and then we've had all these storms, so everything's been grounded here, and we're going to get storms again tonight. But after the the weather goes by, I'm going to make some contacts with it. Maybe take it out in the field. I have a 30 amp hour battery box, and we'll see how it works.
Pretty good prize. Yeah, right.
Yeah, so I thought, yeah, I'll take that. They said, and the G90 goes to K0NEB, and I thought, wow. So I was real happy for that. So
yeah, we've had a few members use that and have pretty good results with it.
Yeah. What surprises me is when I do special event things, like I do 12 days of Christmas. So if you worked, I can't remember what my special call was. It's a 2 call /0. It's a 1x1 call. And so I was one of the 12 days stations. And I made over 2,300 contacts, I think, in 12 days. And being that I'm part of a lot of QRP organizations, even though I'm not running QRP when I do those, when I do the special events from home, I'm running 500 or 600 watts. But if somebody says QRP, I stop and I try and pull them out. And I always ask them, what rig are you running? And they'll tell you. And the ones that were running the G90s, the audio was the best by far. I mean, it was noticeable. I say, finally, I got to the point is I would say, are you running a G90? And they said, how could you tell? And because they sound that good. I was really surprised.
Wow. Pretty good audio processing with inside of it, it sounds like then. So.
Yeah, something in there they do right. And so I was impressed. And so when I won this thing, I told my friends, I said, I'm going to hang on to this because the audio quality I've noticed is really good. And they said, oh, we're ordering one too. We're going to get one. They were wondering if I was going to sell it. I said, oh no, I'm going to mess with it out in the field.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah. SDRs and right.
Yep. I might be coming back to your area in June sometime. Have a brother-in-law in, oh boy, if I can only remember the suburb, Highlands Ranch.
Yeah.
So I was there last summer, and then my sister-in-law passed away, and so we're going to go back and visit him in June, possibly. So
gotcha. Sorry,
might be in the Denver area.
Yeah. Well, tune up the any HT that you might have on our repeaters, and we can chat on there if you want. So very cool.
Sounds good. Yeah, I think we're going to just drive. I mean.
Yeah, exactly. Nah, it's fine. Very cool. Well, very neat. Welcome everyone here.
That's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Let's see. Welcome to Bill and Alex. If you all have anything, let us know. But we're just kind of rag chewing, as it were, this evening.
I'm just waiting to hear about this antenna and the project in 10 days.
Oh yes. I'm sure someone else will hopefully speak about this, but on our front page we do have the April 27th build. Sign up on there, and we're building some balance. We'll be heading up to Mark's house, N0XRX, near the field day site. Limited to 8 people, so if you haven't signed up already, please do.
That's exactly what this little project is that I have, just not in a box.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay, let's see.
Yeah, I like it. Looks good.
Yeah, I'll have to find where he found this. I think it was Amazon.
Yeah, Jerome, it was Amazon because Kathy ordered him for him.
Yeah, pretty cheap looking kit here. For $15, so that's pretty cool. Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. So we've purchased a few of them. I think we've purchased probably 8, and then we'll pass along the cost a little bit. But
are you having a in-person meeting while we're doing the online?
Tonight? No.
Yeah. Okay.
No, we've not had an in-person meeting for I don't even know how long actually. Very cool. So yeah, this is the kit. So I'm sure maybe Mark might bring it up a little bit. If not, I can bring it up. We'll make sure we get people knowing what's going
This
on.
looks fun. I like doing group ones like that, and that would be a good one, especially for a portable kit or field day or just hanging in your backyard.
Joe, I might clarify. We stopped having monthly meetings in person prior to, or right around the time of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And then we started up these things we call DRC Saturdays, where when weather permits, folks gather at various locations, and it's almost like a mini field day that we're doing.
Yeah, this will be the first one for this year. It'll be for first kit building one we've done. We'll probably try to do it again because a lot of fun. Launching a Pico balloon in May, doing a Parks on the Air in July. August we'll do the Colorado QSO party, and we'll be doing a camping event in October. So some pretty cool events here.
Oh, very good.
Trying to get the community more involved here. Yeah. All right, everyone. Good evening, Ron, KF0FPI. Good to hear you there. Anyone else? We have another 15 minutes before we have the meeting here. Let's see. I guess for the last, 10 minutes, unless someone has something, I might just play a bit of a video here, and then we can wrap it up here. But if somebody has something, don't hesitate to jump in. This is a video from the Rocky Mountain PBS on Colorado experience of the cable revolution. So just kind of early telecom days within Colorado. So I'll play a few minutes of this. It's an hour and a half long. Check it out on your own time. But if somebody has something, don't hesitate to put something in the chat or chime in via audio. But I'll just play this for the next 10 minutes, and we'll go to the meeting. Let me see.
Cable television has really only been around for 70 years, and television only a couple of decades before that.
Until the late 1940s, TV sets in the United States could only be counted in the thousands. And because they cost a small fortune, were only found in the homes of the wealthy.
The business model for television in the U.S. is a commercial broadcast model. What that meant is early on, there were 3 commercial networks which developed: CBS, NBC, and then ABC. Public television came along, which then developed into the 4th network. That business model, being commercial, meant that for the investment that you made, you had to reach a large audience, as large an audience as you can. What that meant is television focused on big cities. That basically neglected rural areas or smaller cities.
Television was very, very popular in the 40s, but really was only available in large cities.
As the sale of black and white TV sets mushroomed, rural appliance salesmen had to figure out how to pick up programming from the big cities.
The whole industry started in 1948, thereabouts, and really simultaneously with 3 different entrepreneurs who came up with the idea that you could put an antenna up on a hill.
On top of a mountain or some other tall tower or something to receive a distant TV station, and then wire the community with cables and provide a service to the community by essentially retransmitting over-the-air broadcast channels.
This was a wildly entrepreneurial idea, very inventive, to put that antenna up on the hill and take the signal down with coaxial cable, hence the name cable industry.
Colorado or Denver being the center in the middle, so-called rural America, not the big cities, was a good fertile ground for cable to grow.
Appropriating broadcast signals from big cities might have been where the cable story ended, if it weren't for a man who in 1952 had never even seen a television.
Bill Daniels was often referred to as the father of the cable television business.
If there's any reason they call me the father, it's because I think I was the first guy who recognized it as being a hell of a potential business, and I brought the financial community in and worked at that to really make it a business rather than an extension of an appliance shop. I decided to explore new territory, and I moved to the Rocky Mountain area. At this time, I was 32 years old, had no college education. I had seen television for the first time on my trip from Hobbs, New Mexico, up through Denver on the way to Casper.
He was clearly the first promoter. He was a broker, an investor. It was Murphy's Bar and that Saturday Night Fight, the credit for really introducing him to the business.
Bill goes into the bar on Broadway and for the first time sees a television set. Television set happens to be broadcasting that night the Wednesday Night Fight. And he was a fight guy. I mean, Bill fought as an amateur fighter, Golden Gloves champ at New Mexico military.
So he was particularly interested in how it was delivered to the bar. He immediately fell in love with cable television.
I thought, my God, what an invention this is. But I couldn't get out of my mind, how could you get that great invention to a small town that had no TV stations?
So when he got to Casper, he thought, okay, where's the TV? I want one of those TVs. Well, you can't get television in Casper.
I thought there's gotta be a way that you can get television to small towns. I don't know what that way is, but there's gotta be a way. So I went to work on the project and got it done.
They would actually take the Denver signals and bicycle them up to Wyoming, and then they'd get, in effect, the Denver ABC or CBS or NBC channel.
I think it was known as CATV, Able Cable, ABEL Cable, with a little funny guy. I think that's what we were in '65.
And thus was born what we call community antenna television.
And they were mom and pop operations all around the country.
And the industry was incredibly small.
One might think that the major networks would be peeved at having their signals hijacked by these cable upstarts. But in fact, the networks liked it. Reaching more eyeballs meant more advertising revenue for the broadcasters. Bill Daniels and his fellow pioneers saw huge potential for laying cable nationwide, one community at a time.
The most impressive part of that is that every community got built, it was independently financed, it was independently owned, and if you think about the franchising process, if you or I wanted to go franchise somewhere in the Midwest and we got a franchise, we had to then go build the system. So in the early days, most of the people who were involved were in the construction side of the business. You know, you'd win a franchise, then you had to go build it.
This particular type of structure, community antenna systems, lasted for many years. When I joined TCI in 1969, we were doing extension of broadcast stations in Montana and Wyoming, mainly, and then some in Colorado as we expanded. The community antenna system structure lasted for probably 15 years or more.
We're fortunate that all the pioneers and people that moved the industry were by and large very friendly and good people. Cable is different than other industries. Once you receive a franchise and you build a cable system, you're the only one in the cable industry in that market geography. So cable, by the de facto aloneness, made them cooperative in joint ventures, in public policies, cooperative working people rather than bitter fights in the same market like in other industries. That created this camaraderie in the cable industry, which is unique in the industry.
Oh yes, we were all friends. Once you had the franchise to build, the economics didn't allow overbuilding, and we all shared each other's problems and helped each other out. It was a small knit group of individuals that started this, and as my father said, I don't understand why you're doing this because nobody's going to watch those damn things.
Cable industry obviously was taking the broadcasters' programming and going out and getting paid for it, but at the same time increasing the audience for the broadcasters who were carrying advertising, and they could sell their advertising for more. But over a period of time, the broadcasters were concerned about the fact that cable might be a sleeping gorilla. They began to try to limit cable's possibilities.
And we charged $7.50 a month for one channel. Every 90 days, we'd send our then customers a poll, and they'd pick what programs they wanted to watch. And the majority ruled. If more people wanted to see I Love Lucy than Sid Caesar, that's what we chose.
Hello there, 50 million Americans. Thank you for letting us come into your living room so that
That era, that beginning of the CATV, was really a seat of your pants operation, and they were out there climbing the poles.
In the early days, almost all of it was on utility poles, and cable companies would have to negotiate pole attachment agreements with the owners of the poles, the telephone company, the power company, or in some cases both, and then pay rent to attach the cables to the poles.
Early on, television antennas used what we called twin lead, which was just two wires separated by a piece of plastic. That worked pretty well, except the signal died out too easily. So the next development was coaxial cable, which could carry multiple stations.
A lot of people look at the coaxial cable that comes out of the wall at their house as being the coax that their grandmother had. That cable, however, is really efficient in transmitting signals, incredibly efficient. Into some of the old timers in the industry, I thank them for making the selection 50 years ago around coaxial cable, because our ability to use science to get as much capacity through that cable is unbounded.
It's called coaxial cable because it's a two-conductor transmission. There's a wire in the middle with a plastic insulating material around the wire, and then there's a tubular shield, which is the second conductor, over the insulation, and then some protective black jacketing. So all the TV signals and cable modem signals and whatnot are inside of that coaxial cable. Coax means that if you look at it from the end like this, you've got the center conductor here, the one in the middle, and then the outer one from the end view is a round circle. So if you think of these two circular conductors, they share a common axis, so coaxial cable.
Coax cable is so integrated into everyday life that it has almost become invisible. But it is that cable that makes things visible and audible and purchasable. Who could foresee that a simple cable had such infinite reach, especially when there were only 3 or 4 channels available?
When you talked about who in the early days of the cable business was really out there promoting, it was Bill. He would say it just had an unlimited potential, and we used to joke about how many possible channels can there be.
After Bill got the cable system launched in Casper, it became pretty evident to him that he needed to find a different place to do that. Casper isn't readily available to LA, Washington, D.C., Chicago, New York. In 1965, Denver is a pretty small town.
He would tell me early on, someday people are going to walk around with little phones and they're going to talk. And you think, yeah, right, buddy, for sure. But look what happened. I mean, just think about what the cable industry enabled. Bill Daniels did not have a college degree himself, but what he did have was an incredible drive and an amazing ability to work with people.
His personality was a very convincing personality, at times fun and at times very intense. He was a fellow who you could count on his word.
All right, everyone. That was 10 minutes or so of the Colorado experience of the cable revolution. So it's an hour-and-a-half documentary. Check that out. It's free on YouTube under Rocky Mountain PBS. So shares a lot of commonality, I think, with ham radio and our communities. So appreciate that. And it's Albert put in the chat here pretty good book here, Cable Cowboy, John Malone and the Rise of Modern Cable Business. Pretty good, interesting read there, I'm sure. And the evolution of DOCSIS and being able to put more and more data over the exact same cable that's been buried there for years and years and years. So we have another minute. Anyone else? Or it looks like we're just about to turn over to 7 o'clock. So I appreciate everyone being here. I'll throw it over to our club president, Jerry, and we'll get the meeting started.
Okay, Jerome. Well, thanks for all the pre-stuff here. Just a couple announcements. First off, Joe, I want to thank you for taking your time to do this for us. We really appreciate it. And we're looking forward. I'll remind the DRC members we'll have our drawing as usual, a $25 HRO gift certificate, and that'll be towards the end of the presentation. And Jeff will put the link in the chat, and you can go in there if you desire, if you're a DRC